Welcome to Twin Talk Politics.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Twin Talk Politics. And today, we are so honored to be joined by the wonderful MP Jake Sawatzky, Member of Parliament for New Westminster, Burnaby, Maillardville. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to chatting. I love what you guys are doing, so
Thank
it's
you.
so great to be a part of it.
Yeah. Our first question, as you probably know, we have a pretty cemented tradition on our podcast where, the first question is always a 50-50 guessing challenge of who do you think is Jason and who do you think is Jerry, just based on our different colored backgrounds. And I want to preface this by saying more than half of our guests get it wrong, so please don't feel any pressure.
Oh man. Let's see. I'm gonna say Jason has the yellow background and Jerry has the blue.
Yeah, that's right. Congratulations. You won the 50-50 guess. As Jerry
Nice,
said, not a
nice.
lot of people get that right. So yeah,
All
that's
right,
pretty
all right.
incredible.
Beating the odds.
Cool. Now that you know how to tell us apart, let's just dive straight in the episode. So, just to get started, we were wondering if you could please just introduce yourself and share how your journey into politics began.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jason. Yeah, so I was not really expecting to get into politics. It's something that sort of happened very quickly. So my background is in neuroscience. I studied neuroscience at UBC, Vancouver. I've always cared a lot about mental health and substance use issues and how we can do better at addressing those as a society. So, I mean, that led me to pursue neuroscience. And then also, after I graduated my undergraduate, I was going into a master's in counseling psychology, where I would have been a registered clinical counselor by the end of it. So, I was about to start that. Um, and then I guess there's a few other things happening in my university years. I was also uh, um, doing a lot of different stuff. For one, I was doing a lot of charity work related to oftentimes mental health, but
Yeah.
a lot of other things as well. I raised a lot of money for the Canadian Mental Health Association through an organization called Drop the Puck. And I was really involved in Rotary International, which is doing service work, with my own community as well as sometimes internationally. And then also, I volunteered for the Liberal Party while I was a student at UBC, not really thinking it would necessarily lead to politics, but more
Yeah.
just out of curiosity and wanting to learn more about the political systems and how it all worked. And yeah, so I after graduating, I had also so I kept in touch with somebody who I had volunteered with the Liberal Party. This is in Vancouver Quadra's area, which is Joyce Murray was
Yeah.
the MP
Yeah.
at the end at the time. She's Minister of Fisheries, and so I was doing some volunteering, some door knocking. Also, I was communications assistant, like student volunteer at the office, and eventually, somebody who I had met through doing that reached out to me shortly before this most recent federal election, only about a couple of months before,
Wow.
and asked me if I wanted to run.
Wow.
And I was very honored. I never really had expected that, but I figured, this is a good opportunity to bring that advocacy for mental health and substance use support to a political level. And so I went for it. I was not really expecting to win first time, if I'll be honest with you. As a first time candidate, 25 years old, I figured the odds are probably very slim, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna go all the way and see what happens, and just go for it. And 1 month later after the
Wow.
campaign, wow, I mean, life really changed very quickly. I ended up winning the election, and now I'm about 8 months in here, and it's just been an absolute whirlwind of information, but
Yeah.
super exciting. I mean, I am just so grateful to be here and have this opportunity to be able to help my community. It's just been fantastic. So. Yeah, a little bit of maybe not the most conventional path into politics, I guess, but it's there's many roads.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much for that response. And we'll definitely be talking more about your advocacy for mental health and addiction, Drop the Puck, and the entire campaign journey a little bit later. Our second question is comes in two parts. So first, we're wondering, what do you think are the most pressing problems concerning youth in Canada as a whole right now? And secondly, what do you think are the most paramount issues for youth in your own constituency of New Westminster, Burnaby, Maillardville?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's a really good question. I've heard you guys talk about, there's a lot of young MPs elected this year. I'm actually the fourth youngest MP out of all of them. There's also Amandeep Sodhi,
Yeah.
Faraz Al-Sood, and Tatiana August. And the four of us, all born 2000 or later, which is
Wow.
pretty incredible.
Wow, yeah.
The four of us have formed the Liberal Youth Caucus, and we meet often to discuss youth issues. How do we engage youth in politics, in a more effective way, as well as what are some of the most common issues that youth are dealing with. And typically what we discuss most, I mean, affordability is really impacting really everyone right now, but I mean, particularly when it comes to youth looking at, their housing, and wanting to think about home ownership at some point is really difficult when, the market is so high. I mean, affordability from a housing perspective, but also just from even just the cost of groceries and living is really people are feeling that right now. I mean, I've also been hearing a lot, and am personally quite concerned with the direction that AI is taking in
Yeah,
certain
for sure.
roads. I mean, first of all, there's how it's going to affect the landscape of the job market, and how it's going to, perhaps replace some jobs, which is something that we need to be prepared for as a society, and how we're going to adapt to that. It's really important. But then also it raises a lot of other concerns, such as there's like deep fake videos. I mean, we're getting to a point now where I'm sure you two have scrolled through maybe Instagram, and about like half the videos seem to be AI generated.
Yeah.
And it can be really actually difficult to tell what's real and what's fake. And I think that presents a really specific challenge to our society, because we really rely on videos, as to watch the news, or to use video evidence in the courts, or to, like just watch videos online, or like there's so much that we rely on videos of, you didn't have to actually be there. And now that we actually can't completely rely on those videos being real, and I mean, it's the quality of the videos and images has gotten to a point where it's like almost like you can't tell the difference. And I think that's going to present an issue as well. I mean, there's all kinds of other things. There's, of course, the climate that we need to be thinking about. What's like I mean, geopolitics is changing, but now, I mean, I should keep it to youth, but really, all of these issues will affect the future, the next 30, 50, 80 years. It's young people that are going to live the longest with the decisions that we're making. So,
Sure.
I mean, it's really, I mean, there's a few issues that are very youth specific, but really all issues connect to youth in the sense that like they will affect the next generations. And yeah, it's an important perspective that we need to take when we're making these decisions.
Mhm. For sure. Yeah, thank you so much. We completely agree. And I think throughout the interview, we're going to be touching on a lot of the topics you just mentioned there, and specifically its impact on youth. But first, we'd sort of love to rewind back all the way back to last year's election, where you pulled off what many would have considered an incredibly uphill battle. In just your first federal election, you defeated the longtime NDP incumbent, Mr. Peter Julian, who had held that seat for, I think, nearly more than like 2 decades, which is incredible. And our question here is, what aspects of your campaign do you think resonated most strongly with voters that ultimately contributed to your victory?
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I certainly agree with you. It was an uphill battle, one I wasn't necessarily expecting to pull off. And Mr. Peter Julian is a very nice guy. I've spoken with him, since, and there's he was elected. Yeah, he was there for 21 years.
Yeah,
So
wow.
he would have been elected when I was 4 years old in
Wow, wow.
2004. And yeah, I mean, also aside from that as well, I mean, the riding, specifically New Westminster, now it's New Westminster, Burnaby, Millardville, but the riding has been very NDP for a long time, nearly
Sure.
since about 1976, I believe, has
Wow.
been
Yeah.
NDP. Also at not only federal, but both provincial and municipal is oftentimes NDP. So for it to swing was, I think caught a lot of people off guard, including me. But yeah, it's hard to say exactly what wins an election. There's always a lot of different factors, right? I mean, first of all, I mean, I'll just give some credit to the Prime Minister, Carney, who's, I think, just taking a very great path as the leader, of our country right now. And I think a lot of people saw that. And, many people were looking at the overall leadership of the country and saw him as somebody to lead. And so that certainly played a major factor, right? It was more or less the Prime Minister Carney wave in a certain sense. So I mean, there's the leadership, but then there's of course, you're voting for an individual as well.
Right.
So I did my best to go door knocking. Every single day I was doing long days of being out in the community, going from business to business, and taking part in all candidates meetings, all kinds of things to really get my name, my face out there. And I took an approach where I was mainly listening rather than telling people, what my solutions are going to be.
Wow, yeah. Sure.
I'm of course a very young person, and I have a lot to learn as well. I know that. And I mean, really, what I would show up door to door with is like, what do you want to see, and how can I help achieve that? And so that kind of flips the script from, I'm the one with all the answers, more so that and then instead saying, look, I know I don't have all the answers, but I want to hear from you. What do you want to see? And I
Right.
think a lot of people appreciate that. They feel heard and they feel like they'll actually be able to get their voice across, in the loud federal political world. So, yeah, I guess that's a little summary of it.
Yeah, cool. Thank you so much. We just kind of wanted to jump a little bit more towards all your advocacy for mental health now. So we know that even before stepping into politics, you've been a very strong and fierce advocate for improving mental health and addressing addiction. We know you were the former president of Drop the Puck, a charity hockey game that works to break the stigma surrounding mental health and has actually raised more than $190,000 for the Canadian Mental Health Association. And now, obviously, as MP, you're using your platform to better advocate for initiatives such as Movember, International Overdose Awareness Day, among countless others. So, first of all, thank you for shedding light on such important issues that often do and sadly get sidelined. So, our question here is, with all your experience, and obviously, as you mentioned at the beginning, your background in neuroscience, in counseling psychology, what do you see as the most urgent gaps in Canada's mental health and addiction systems? And what do you believe are the most important steps the federal government should take to address them?
Yeah, thanks, Sherry. As you mentioned, I mean, just the importance of this. Like, everyone will know somebody, if not themselves, who have struggled with some sort of mental illness or substance use issue. It's something that really touches, everyone in our society, and we need to do better. We need to find some more effective solutions. There's a lot of people who are really struggling and just not getting the support. I mean, it's clear if you walk down a downtown area of any city for more than 5 minutes, then you'll see people that are struggling, and
Yeah,
it's important. And I mean, there's what we can see, but what's visible and what's not visible, because a lot of this, it's not as apparent sometimes as maybe a physical disability. Sometimes it's completely invisible, but that's why it's so important to have that awareness around it. I mean, this is of course a complicated issue. There's
yeah,
no
sure.
one single fix, and there's a lot of issues that tie into each other, right? So I mean, of course, mental health issues can play into substance use issues, which can play into, people who are unhoused. I mean, it's there's all kinds of factors and downstream effects, but I mean, really the kind of if I could pick a top few uh, you know, things to focus on, it would be when people go into rehabilitation facilities or mental health, get treatment for their mental health issues. When they come out of that, there needs to be step down services so they can kind of reintegrate into society,
For sure.
because coming right back to where you were without actually any kind of transition is really abrupt and oftentimes can lead to just going exactly right back to, where one was before they got any help. So having, different levels of care based on the needs is important in expanding those. Of course, there's for the more serious mental health and addictions issues, we need more treatment facilities for, people that struggle with all of that. And I mean, yeah, just really an advocacy, continuing to raise awareness and break down the stigma is another important thing. So, yeah, I mean, that's a very brief
Yeah, no
overview, I
worries.
guess, but there's always more detail we can go into.
Yeah, cool. Thank you so much for that answer. Now we kind of want to transition our conversation more towards youth. As you know, our podcast is made by and for the youth, and something we always try to do, but speaking frankly, rarely get the opportunity to, is spotlight young leaders in government. And I think it's safe to say you are a living embodiment of youth empowerment in action, being one of only four MPs born in the 21st century in Parliament right now. And I think it goes without saying how inspiring this is for so many young Canadians who previously felt that their age disqualified them from public office. So we're very curious to know, in your political career, has your age caused any obstacles? And if so, how did you overcome them?
Yeah, thanks. It's another thing that I've been focusing on, right? I mean, this is something that we talk about, as I mentioned, with the Youth Caucus.
Sure.
We're wanting to engage young people in a way that helps them feel heard and helps them feel like that their voice actually matters. I know it's easy to feel like, oh, I'm only one person, I'm just a cog in a big machine. What
Mm.
effect could I actually have? And really, the message that we want to tell young people is that you can really make a difference. I mean, there are ways if you understand the systems that are existing, you understand how to get involved, how to have your voice be heard in politics, you can actually affect change, and there's ways to do that. And so that's really our biggest message. I mean, personally, I actually have been surprised, to be honest, about how receptive the older generations of MPs have been to our perspective as the Youth Caucus. I
Yeah.
think it's they're actually one of the coolest things I think is that they don't even you know first of all, they listen when we're talking to them. But the coolest thing is they actually ask us for our perspective when they're
Yeah.
making decisions
Wow.
sometimes. How do you guys think this will play into, how will this affect young people, or what will young people think of this change? And we get to be a sort of, advocacy advocate, or, a part of that decision from the lens of somebody who grew up past the year 2000. And so, yeah, I mean, there's sometimes there's it's a bit of a challenge, I guess. Yeah, I mean, it's I have, just by way of my years lived on the planet, less life experience than some of my older colleagues. But there's also, I mean, it takes a lot of energy to be an MP, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
And so, being 25 in this world is good in that regard, with all
Yeah.
the back and forth flights and nonstop schedules. And then, another thing is, I think social media is really changing the landscape of politics as well.
Sure.
And having grown up with, familiarity with how to use social media, what are trends you can be a part of, all of that sort of thing, has been advantageous in that regard, because I've been able to reach quite a lot of people through my social media. And I think that's because I grew up in a generation that was so familiar with it. So, Yeah, there's challenges, but I'd say there's a lot of advantages too, and I think it really balances out at the end of the day.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, and continue on the subject of youth. We know there has unfortunately been a significant decline in youth engagement in recent years, evidenced by the low youth voter turnout rates just across the country. It's really staggering. So, in your opinion, in what aspects can the youth do to become more engaged within the political sphere? And do you think that a solution like extending the voting age to 16 could help this?
Yeah, there's lots of different ways that one could get involved. I mean, first of all, there's politically, if one was interested in getting and making a change politically, I think it's good to try to identify a party that one relates with, and then helping out on the partisan side. So that could be going door knocking. It could be trying to organize groups and events for fundraising for the political party or the MP candidate that you feel is most strongly going to represent your interests. That's one way. There's from a nonpartisan side, like every MP office, you've got your partisan side of like, your political party, and then you've got your nonpartisan roles as I'm a member of parliament. I represent all of my constituents
Yeah, right.
with any kind of federal things, whatever they're helping with. And so you can kind of pick either one. You don't always have to be affiliated with a political party to get involved politically. So I mean, it could be being a volunteer in an MP's office. There's and then there's I mean there's of course the advocacy route. I tend to be more of like an action-oriented person. Advocacy is important, but really the biggest thing is like what are we actually doing and how can we actually change things rather than just talking about changing things. Yeah, so I mean I think you mentioned lowering the voting age to 16. I think that I'm totally open to that idea. I think there's a lot of very intelligent 16-year-olds that have very well informed positions, and that's something I think could be a great possibility. But really, when it comes down to if I like kind of give advice to a younger person, I mean it would be and it doesn't necessarily even have to be political. I mean, just to get organized into, meeting people who have like-minded ideas and working together on some sort of project, whether that's something for a nonprofit or something for like maybe starting a business or political, like just to like get organized and find people that have similar ideas to you and work together and uh try to do something meaningful. I think that can go a long way.
Cool.
Certainly a lot better than just mindlessly scrolling on social media. Yeah, do something exciting, do something fun.
Cool. Thank you for all of your insightful responses to all of our questions today. And today we wanted to end off our conversation with a fun question, but perhaps the hardest question of them all. So we know you actually co-founded We Outside, a concert booking agency, and have hosted some incredible shows over the years. So this might be very difficult for you, but do you have a favorite concert you've hosted?
Oh yeah, that's hard to pick there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I forgot to mention this at the start, but while I was at university, I also started a concert booking company with a friend at university, and so we book live music concerts at local pubs and bars and venues downtown in downtown Vancouver. Usually on Friday or Saturday nights, the bands will play things like alt rock, indie rock, pop. Sometimes we get like a little bit of folk or country. Like
Wow.
there's a big mix of different things. Yeah, I mean, man, when I was there, we booked definitely over 100 shows,
Wow.
probably
Wow.
quite a lot more in a very short period of time. It's like almost, every Friday or Saturday we'd have a concert going on. But yeah, I wonder it's a favorite show. I mean, there's okay, well, this my favorite show actually circles back to when I got involved in booking concerts before I was before I had started the company, I was actually doing it for charity because I had mentioned that I was involved in Rotary International.
Yeah.
This is like this
Yeah.
international service organization. I had been a co-founder of this club called the Semiahmoo Peninsula Rotaract, and I was helping out organizing the fundraising. And we would do all these things like for fundraising, like doing bottle drives and donut sales, like out there selling Krispy Kreme donuts on the side of the road kind of thing. And we weren't really making that much money from it. And I thought let's try to like find a new way, a new solution to this, to try to get some more money for our charity projects. And so I had a friend in a band, and he knew a lot of other bands. So I asked him, "Do you want to do a charity concert?" He said yes. I was like,
Wow.
"Okay, all right, we got bands, we need a venue." And so but we there's this place called the Roxy in downtown Vancouver.
Yeah. Mhm.
So I'd reached out to all of these other venues, and they weren't really giving me much. But then I reached out to the Roxy, which was again a little bit of I was like, probably they won't say yes, but I'll just reach out and see what happens. And then the Roxy got back to me and said, we're gonna give you a Friday night. We're gonna give you all the ticket sales, and just
Oh,
like put
wow.
on like a super great concert. And actually, I think it's funny that one of the bands that played at one of those Roxy shows was my mom was in a band, and I actually
Oh,
got to book my mom at
wow.
a concert at the Roxy, which was super cool. But yeah, I mean that's got to be definitely one of my
Yeah,
favorites. One of
definitely.
the first for sure. But I mean that really triggered a whole part of my life into, wow, I actually really like organizing concerts, something I never really knew that I could do. And especially as, I mean, I was 18 at the time, and I was a bit surprised that like they just let me go organize concerts there. I was like, wow, I would have figured there was more roadblocks to actually or doing something like this. But, I just kind of put myself out there and, sent it, if you will. And, yeah, I mean, it worked out,
Yeah.
and then I did that so much that I was like, wow, I really love doing this. So I started doing that quite a bit. I started a company organizing live music concerts, and it all stemmed from, just kind of just trying it out. So yeah, I guess I'd say that's kind of the favorite concert, if you will, is the first one.
For sure. Well, that is so interesting. Again, if you guys haven't checked out We Outside, please, please, please do check it out. Cool. All right. I think that concludes our interview today. Again, Jared and I would like to extend the biggest of thank yous to MP Sawatzky and his phenomenal team for this amazing opportunity and taking the time out of his very, very busy schedule to actually come here, sit down and meet with us. We truly, truly appreciate it. For all the listeners at home, if you guys wish to see more interviews like this, be sure to tune into future episodes. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you guys next time.